I was born a carnivore. I would just take that dish and go like this and say, Mom, can you take me to the butcher? I'll go with you. And I would go to the butcher and steal the meat. So, Senor, how much I owe you? He goes, you know what, Senora? If you keep on bringing that kid, I'm going to start charging double. She steals everything. But she was like, oh my God, you're a beast. So everybody in my family knew me like the beast that was only eating meat. I had a very unhealthy life in New York because I started working, I started being successful. You start going out, you start taking a lot of substances, especially like a lot of alcohol. I used to smoke a lot of weed, didn't eat. And I remember the first time I had like a real eggs or real pork, I cried. For me, has been going back to trusting my body 100% because it feels good. I don't have health insurance. I never had. I will never have health insurance.
Okay, I'm very happy to have Monika with us today. Monika is going to share a success story with us. Monika, would you mind sharing what part of the world you're in, if you don't mind?
I'm in Miami Beach right now, but I come from South America. I come from Colombia.
From Colombia. Okay, that's very nice. And Miami, I assume the weather's quite nice there today. I'm imagining.
No, it's cold. I'm
Is it
wearing.
cold? What is cold for you? What is the temperature that makes it cold?
At this point, cold is anything below 70. And I know I'm very spoiled, but I lived in New York for too long. So now I'm like, no, I want my sun. But yeah, we can do this.
Oh, interesting. How long? When did you leave Colombia? At what point did you leave Colombia?
I left when I was 18 years old and I went to live in Europe. I lived in Europe for 8 years. I traveled around. I studied in Italy and France, ended up in England, then had a boyfriend in Greece, ended up living in Greece, went back to Colombia for 2 months, stayed 4 years. Then on the eve of my 30th birthday, almost 30 years ago, I left to go to New York. And that's where I started. I stayed there 27 years and developed a career in the arts. I'm an artist. I'm a professional artist. But then during the pandemic, I basically escaped the matrix, and I'm here now, and I made it.
When you say an artist, what kind of art do you do? Is it like painting, or what kind of art
No, I'm a multidisciplinary. So that means that I work with many different mediums. So I have in the last 10 years probably devoted myself more towards public art. And so my clients are the state and every single state, university, subway stations. I have a lot of artwork that is commissioned. I work by commission. So it's part of a program that it was developed in the United States in the 30s. It's called 1% per art. So I work for the government, but I don't work in the art market anymore. That's why I say I escaped the market. I escaped New York and all that manipulation of money. So I do public art. It takes me 2 years, a year, 2 years, 3 years to develop a project, and I have it fabricated somewhere else. Usually Germany, Italy, sometimes mosaics, sometimes I do animations. Like I have stuff in the subways in New York. I have animation. I also have mosaics. I have things at the police stations, airports, you name it. That's what I focus on.
So these are bigger pieces, right? They're not something you hang on your wall. These are large sculptures and murals and that type of stuff.
Yeah, but I used to be part of the art market. So I had a gallery. I didn't have a gallery, but I was working with different galleries. So I still sell pieces like that, but I don't really go for it. Like you have to commission me. You have to call me and say, I really want it. And then I said, I'm going to do it. But I don't just make art and wait for somebody to come and buy it. I don't do that anymore.
Is this something you've done your whole life? Did you start this back when you were in Colombia, or did you develop this later on in life?
I didn't know I was an artist until I moved to New York, because before I wanted to get out of Colombia. Basically, my aim was I don't want to live in Colombia. I want to leave. And I spoke many languages because I was a very curious kid. So I learned many different languages. I thought I wanted to be like a translator, but then I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Then I didn't want to come to the United States. So I thought, what can I study somewhere else that is far away and is going to be better to do it in Europe? And I always like materials and stuff like that. So I studied fashion. But after I finished fashion, I was like, this is not what I want to do. And then I've been taking pictures of my life. Like I had a little camera when I was in my 7 years old or 8 years old. I got a camera, and then I thought, wait a minute, I always been taking pictures. So I started doing photography, and that led me to becoming an artist because I needed to find a way how to channel my creativity in a very practical way, to manifest it in a way that is practical. I'm a very extremely practical person. So I have dreams, but I want to manifest them in reality. That's what I do.
Yeah, sometimes reality is a bit of a wake up call for for some things. But so let me ask you, this is a success story. So was there some sort of health journey that has occurred, or were you at some point ill at some point?
Oh, this is interesting thing. I was born a carnivore. Like I am very intuitive person. I like for start, I don't have health insurance. I never had. I will never have health insurance. I do alternative practices. So I'm a long time meditator. I know a lot about nutrition, but I do have a journey that has gone here like that. I'm going to be 60 in 2 months, and I've been healthy throughout. Apart from little instances that I mess things up because I changed my diet. So when I was growing up, the story is that my mom was a very incredible human being, but she was not a good cook. So, and she was very practical. So she used to prepare one piece of meat like this, have a skewer for in the kitchen and cut the meat and give it a salt like that. I would just take that dish and go like this and say, Mom, can you take me to the butcher? I'll go with you. And I would go to the butcher and steal the meat. And my mom thought that I had a lot of anemia or something like that, but she was like, "Oh my God, you're a beast." So everybody in my family knew me like the beast that was only eating meat, red meat. It had to be red meat. And so I grew up eating a lot of meat. Colombia has incredible meat. So I would have meat for breakfast, meat for at all times. But then you start growing up and going to other cultures like Italy or Greece and stuff like that. They don't eat that much red meat. So you start eating pasta. And that's when all my problems started developing because I didn't understand that was like what was causing me problems. So I had always problems of not real problems, but my digestion was not perfect. And I'm a person that loves to feel light in my body, like light. And so I started doing research when you do your research, and I started meditating. So they told me meat is bad. So I had my little stint of becoming a vegetarian. Not a good idea. But I always go back to meat because I crave the meat. There's something about the meat that it goes perfect with my body. So yeah, I've been a carnivore. And then when was it? Around when I was 38 or 39, I had a very unhealthy life in New York because I started working, I started being successful. You start going out, you start taking a lot of substances, especially like a lot of alcohol. I used to smoke a lot of weed, didn't eat. And I developed like a night time of working, didn't sleep, and I started having nightmares that I was going to have this big cysts coming for me. There was this dream that I'm running, and there are all these like ovaries. My ovaries are running for me. So I went to the doctor. It was the only time I went to the doctor, and I said, Monica, you have cysts this big. So apparently, I had developed a lot of problems in that area. So that's when they cut me the meat, and they say you should really eat differently. And that's when I started having a lot of problems with my health. It was because of the food. So they gave me a diets that were not okay for me. It took time for me to figure it out. That was the problem. It was not, also my unhealthy lifestyle. I stopped smoking and I started going to bed early, started doing Qigong. I started to practice with the Taoist teacher for like 12 years, doing Tai Chi, Qigong, and all that. But I don't know if you know a little bit about Chinese medicine. They don't want you to do certain things with the food. So I started experimenting with that, and still it's not good. It was a long time there that I was experimenting with my body and never felt good.
What did you said the Chinese medicine folks, practitioners didn't want you to do certain things with the food. Was it mixing certain foods, cooking it a certain way? Or what were the things they were concerned
The
about?
thing is, this is like the whole cosmology of the Chinese medicine is that you have to understand time, and time has to do with the seasons. So all the energy, we are bipolar. So we have the yin and yang, all the fruits, the vegetables, and every single piece of food that you ingest is energy, and it has an energetic quality to it. So it's either yin or yang. And it regulates certain organs. So they teach you to eat at certain hours, to do certain practices, to eat with certain colors according to the seasons. And for instance, it is very big, it is forbidden to have cold foods. So you're not supposed to have ice cream, you're not supposed to have like ice, you're not supposed to have yogurt or things like that, because then it's going to bring a lot of dampness to your body. So you start experimenting with that, which in a way makes sense for the people that were living at that time in that specific place, but not if you bring this to a different century. Yeah, I learned it and I practiced it because I was really studying Taoism with this teacher.
Okay. So, and the prohibition of cold food, is it thought that heat would kill bacteria or something like that? And if you're eating cold food, that maybe it was not properly.
They say that the stomach, this is a theory more or less. I'm not going to say something completely like an expertise, but it is that the stomach needs heat in order to process the food. So if you're like, you have a big meal and then you just down it with a lot of ice, you're going to create a shock in the stomach. And so then you're going to have problems. But for instance, I never, I don't know, make sense?
Yeah, enzymatic reactions in the presence of heat often develop more rapidly. So I guess there's something to say about that, perhaps.
Yeah.
So you said someone prescribed you a diet that didn't work for you. What was that diet, and why do you mean it didn't work for you?
It's not that it was prescribed, but it's like as you start learning about Chinese culture and about energy systems, and you start practicing qigong and meditation, and everything starts being together, right? Like it's a balancing thing. It's not like you have to do this, but you start experimenting with that. So I started to eating less meat and bringing more certain vegetables that they were, say, for instance, in the winter, have roots. I never liked roots. I don't like roots. I like anything that hangs, I hate. If you invite me to a dinner and I have to have tomatoes, I will remove them like kindly like this. And at the end, you're going to ask me, what happened to the tomatoes? I'm going to go, I don't like tomatoes. I don't like a lot of stuff. And since I was little, I didn't force myself to eat whatever I didn't want. So I started noticing that the things that they were telling me that I should be eating according to the law of nature, it was not happening. So I was making an effort just to be doing it, but it was not happening in my body. I would feel bloated, or I didn't sleep well, or I didn't have the energy that they said that my body was going to have. It was actually working in the contrary sense. I was like, this is not making sense as much as this, I don't know, wisdom is like 3,000 years old. It's not, my body is younger, but it has more wisdom that this rules. So that's when I started realizing that you really have to listen to the body. I always, when I listen to my body, it makes sense.
Yeah, there's obviously finding what works for your body is certainly important. I'm the same way in that I tomatoes I can't stand. I never like those. Anybody put those in my food, I hate it. I pull them all out. Same thing with a lot of different. I just never like most vegetables, to be honest. So this works quite well for me, and it's interesting that. So at what point did you figure out the diet wasn't working for you? How did you feel? And what made you change to I'm assuming back to a carnivorous diet?
Because I was not feeling well at the very end. Like no matter how much Tai Chi you do and meditation you do, and then your body you feels sluggish and you don't feel good. You look at yourself in the mirror and you're just like bloated and you're like, this is not going to happen. So I thought, you know what? If I eat meat and I do my stuff, I'm not going to be kicked out of heaven or whatever, or I'm not going to go to hell. You know what I mean? So it's up to me. And if they tell me something, I'll say that this is my choice, which I always done. I think that another reason was that I was married at the time with somebody came from Spain, and he really was not very good with meat. Like buying food together, it was a pain because he wanted to have bread and pasta and different kind of. So I started noticing that I was doing a lot of stuff more to please others or to be more trying to fit in. And then I think around 2007, something happened that I did this is interesting time. I did a series of 2 years where I experimented a lot with my body in terms of doing a lot of fastings. So I would not eat. I would not eat for days, 40 days, only water, juice fastings, all kinds of cleanups. I went completely bananas. Like I have to say, I went completely crazy. I have this thing about myself that I like to be in extreme situations to see if I learn something about my body, and I have a lot of endurance. I don't do that anymore. I was younger and more foolish. And so I did that a lot. And then I started feeling even worse after that. I did lose like a lot of muscle, like there was no muscle in me. And I was like, this is not good. I didn't have enough minerals. So I think one day I was in New York and I walked through the farmer's market and I was like, whoa, I didn't know they had a farmer's market. And I asked the people, that we're here almost every day, but this and this. And I said, what do you sell? And then I started seeing like they were bringing the meat from upstate, and and I hadn't had pork like in 20 years or something like that, or eggs. I hadn't had like real food for a long time since I moved to New York. And I remember the first time I had like a real eggs or real pork, I cried. I was like, oh my God, the taste of this. So I became like a foodie in the sense that I would go pretty much every day to the farmer's market and buy my food. I got in touch with the farmers. I will go and talk to them, learn everything about how they were doing it. I started asking, can I go to your farms? Can I buy food directly from you? So I started going upstate and buying my meat and being in relationship with them and understanding that the taste of the meat, for instance, grass fed was a little bit different. And it grew because I was accustomed already with the horrible meat that you get when that they inject a lot of water. So I started like really becoming very obsessed with the farmers market and everything that it was there. And so that's how I got back into the carnivore, but I was still eating greens. Like I love lettuce. If I have to choose like greens, it's like sometimes it will be green beans or lettuce. Like I can have a lettuce like that. Because I have to be honest, I was always afraid. I didn't know actually at that time that you could be completely carnivore. And it took me a while to really jump into 100% because I was very afraid I couldn't go to the bathroom to do number two. That was a big myth. Like I didn't know. So I was afraid. Yeah.
Okay. And so you changed to more meat and farmer's market and lettuce and some other greens that you enjoyed. How was your health at that point? Was it much better?
Oh my God, it changed. It's because at the time when I was doing all these things, with changing my meat, I got diagnosed with, I had something in the uterus. I don't know how to call it, like fibroids or something like that. So they immediately, it's the only time I got to the doctor and said, we have to get in. Are you going to have babies? And I was like, what a question. Is it because we're going to take everything out? And I'm like, you're not going to take anything out of me. Nothing. So that's when I said, no, I'm going to be very focused about not like really taking care of my body and not putting anything that is substances or something like that. So I arrived to a healthy, like the age I am right now, healthy with all my organs inside. So I started really paying attention to what I was eating, but I still integrated a lot of vegetables. I have never been very big on sugar. Like I don't eat any donut. Like for me, if you bring me donuts, they're not appetizing for me. So I don't have a sweet tooth at all. There was a moment that I was drinking a lot of alcohol because, again, my ex-husband was Spanish. I learned a lot about wine. And so I was having a lot of wine. But I don't think that wine was also very good for me because it was too much sugar in my body. So I slowly developed into a healthy person, foodie. I would call myself like I will go to the farm. And then I discovered when I moved to Williamsburg, they had this beautiful butcher, a place that I would go every day. And I became very close to them. They used to give classes about cutting cows. I was there all the time. I took the class, I don't know how many times, because I just wanted to be there. And I learned so much about all the pieces of the meat of the cow. So I would go there every day to buy my food, my meat.
And so you sound like you've gotten healthier, eating meat and some vegetables primarily. What propelled you to maybe go further and drop, assuming dropping the vegetables? Did you do that or what
Yeah, I did because so what happened was like pandemic happened, right? And I was aware that was going to be a big one because I had a lot of friends in Italy. I lived in Italy. I have many friends in Italy and in China. So I knew, oh, this thing is big. And although I'm not a person who's afraid of this kind of stuff, I'm going to pay attention. So I remember what I did is the first thing I said to myself is, we're going to cut the wine. We're going to like give it up because I don't know what this is. And I have to have my immune system like sound, like not a single piece of sugar. So that 2020 was when I was like completely focused. I changed my habits to eating like every 3 hours, but I will have just protein and a little bit of vegetables and drinking a lot of water. So I became super healthy. I escaped the matrix. I came to Miami. Problem in Miami was that I did not find good meat or I didn't know where to look for it. So I started having a lot of fish, and I'm not a person that likes fish that much. I will eat it, but you won't see me like, oh, I have a craving for sushi. No, or I have a craving for salmon. No, I don't. So I started buying fish locally that will get delivered. And within, I don't know, 6 months, my hair started falling, like a lot of hair. So I thought, oh no, this is not good. And then I thought, okay, so I have to find a good butcher. I tried everywhere, nothing. And then I thought, okay, maybe I have to like find something online that they can deliver And that's what I did. So I've been trying. Now I found somebody more local, which I really like the meat here, but I tried many farms, many things that they will deliver me the food, the meat from, I don't know, different states. So I tried the last 2 years, I tried a lot of them. So I became completely more focused on meat. Then I think because I've been following Jordan Peterson for a long time, way before his health, and I was in groups where he was like a big hero. When he went through all his problems and then when he started talking about his health, I thought, oh, I don't have an immune problem. So I didn't think about it that way. I thought, oh, I'm okay. So I don't need that. I don't need to have this extreme thing because I thought being carnivore was an extreme thing, which it is in a way, but it isn't. Like it is extreme because it's like you get everything out, but it isn't. It makes more sense. So I was looking at that there. I want to be like that one day, but I don't need it. Oh, maybe I'm going to have another salad. So yeah, so I was a little bit skipping it, trying not to be too close to it until I think it was like a year ago. I said, let me try it. So I started dropping the vegetables, dropping. Also because it was starting to become very expensive to buy the boxes here. I will have them deliver, and they only deliver once. And then I could have some lettuce for a few days, and then a few other days everything was wasted. And I hate Trader Joe's. You don't know how much I hate that place in Whole Foods. I'm not going to eat it. So I was like, okay, for self-preservation, I have to find a way where I can actually have my food for the month, and I don't have to be dependent on anything else. So I did it for more, and I'm also a Bitcoiner right now. So I'm thinking, I'm not a prepper, but I'm thinking very much about how to take care of myself in the event of something else happening. I know how to deal with my body. Like I don't want to be depending on anything or anybody. So I changed, probably last year, and I've seen like immediately everything went back to when I was little. Like it makes so much sense. Made so much sense because I am totally 100% right now.
So it has made a significant difference for you in your health, is what you're saying.
Yes, all around. Because even the time that I wasn't eating meat, that's when I saw the impact of not being good for me. And even though I thought, and we've been told so many things, so at the end I was reading about what's good and maybe you need a lot of fiber. And I did all these like crazy fastings with vegetables and maybe you need this and that. And at the end, I don't need any of that. I can have that in the meat. It's like they're selling me so much BS that I have to start trusting my body. So for me, it has been going back to trusting my body 100% because it feels good. I like every time I make a steak, like when I wake up in the morning, it's like the same sensation when I was 5 going, Mom, can you take me to the butcher so we can steal some food? I remember once he said to me, my mom used to be a barterer. So, Senor, how much I owe you? He goes like, you know what, Senora? If you keep on bringing that kid, I'm going to start charging double. She steals everything. I used to steal the pieces and put them in my pocket. Just love meat so much. They actually have a nickname. They used to call me Carnitas because it was only red meat.
Okay. And so what do you typically eat? You said it was difficult to find meat in Miami, which is, I'm going there in April I'll be there, but I've been to Miami before and I've gotten meat there and it seemed okay. But what do you eat typically now on a daily basis?
So I eat, like I wake up and I used to eat before first thing in the morning, but right now I'll have some water and then I'll have a steak in the morning, just big strip steak like that and very juicy and everything. And it takes me a while. I'm not eating very fast, so it takes me a while to just down it. But yeah, I'll have 8 ounces of steak. And then around, like I'm eating 3 or 4 times a day. I don't eat that much. So I just make a little bit and then a little bit. I have a lot of ground meat. I love ground meat. I always love ground meat. And there's certain parts of the cow that I like more than others. So I always love the fat. This is a funny thing. Always love the fat, always love the bones. Since I was little, I was like killing for the bones, killing for the fat. And people were like, why are you eating that? I was like, it's delicious because it gives the flavor. So yeah, I have a lot of ground meat and steaks, just steaks. Sometimes like the other day I got some ribs and I'll probably cook them. I'm not that big on the ribs, but I could. If they're very well cooked, I'll do it. But I'm very simple. I don't like sauces or anything like that. And one of the things that I did for a long time and I'm having trouble buying here is bone marrow because I love bone marrow. And in New York, I used to make a lot of bone marrow soup and with vegetables and stuff like that. And people were like, you should really sell this because I was really good with the bone marrow. So I'm buying some hens and chicken, how to say, fingers like that. So I can make a stock. And that's what I drink sometimes if it was water. It's full of minerals.
Okay, so it's got a broth, a bone broth.
Yeah. And for instance, all my female friends, they always say, what do you do to your skin? And I'm like, I drink collagen. What do you mean? It's just everything is there. Never bought a cream in my life. I don't use any creams. And people are like, I don't believe you. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't. Sometimes I put some tallow on my face. That's it. But nothing.
There, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a large population of folks in Miami that come from South America. That
Yeah.
maybe there's other Colombians. Do you integrate with those groups, and do they ask you about your diet ever?
Yeah, they're mostly Cubans. One of the reasons why I moved here from New York is because I knew that New York, if I stay there, I was not going to be free. I was going to end up being like completely in jail. And I knew like if I want to live in a place, it has to be a place where they've known communism before. And Miami is just Cuba. Like people who know what not having freedom is. So when I came here, the building that I lived are all Cubans, very nice people. And I remember people saying like, how can you, like people my age going like, how can you keep yourself so thin? And what do you do to your skin? And I'm like, I don't eat shit. I have like a good relationship, but I'm not obsessed. Like I swim every day, but I'm not like this obsessed. I'm not obsessive with that, but I keep myself a very good weight and I'm below in pounds. What is that? Like 107. I'm like 49 kilos. That's steady. And yeah, I do a little bit of weights, but I'm not fanatic of all that. I just want to be healthy. I want to be 77 or 88 and people go, damn, you look good. That's what I want. That's my aim, my aspiration. So yeah. So people here ask me sometimes, family members they've seen, or even in South America, because people in Colombia started eating bad. People are very addicted to sugar everywhere. And that includes alcohol, like a lot. And so when I go back there, they always say, what are you doing? What have you done? I don't know. I'm like, nothing. I just keep on eating. So some people make fun. You still eat so much meat, carnitas. And I was like, I still eat meat. So it's funny. They know that I'm doing this, but I think that it's difficult for people to think that they're going to be okay and they're going to miss the sugar. And I always say, look, it's going to take a week or two where you're going to be in hell and then you're going to be fine. It's like, it's worth it.
Yeah, there's definitely people that don't want to give up sugary foods for sure. You can see that very clearly with a lot of people. So you've been to Miami now for how long have you been in Miami now?
It's going to be 4 years this year. So it's 3.5.
3.5 years. And how are you liking Miami?
I love Miami. I live barefoot apart from today that I'm wearing socks. But yeah, I live barefoot. I go to the beach. I swim. Beautiful, sunny. People are okay. People mind their own business. I don't miss New York at all. I don't miss the hustle at all. And here's great. If I feel like I want to be out there, I just go to the beach or just go for a walk. And people don't mess with you here. I love it. I think that is the best solution if I still want to be in the States. Miami's okay. And it has this like South American vibes. So I feel good. It's good.
Yeah, Miami's a nice place. I enjoy when I get to go there.
Yeah.
Have you, since you've gone to maybe an all meat diet, have you had any downsides? Have there been any negatives that you've run into?
I noticed this, but then sometimes I have to take some lemon before. I will notice that I start like having, I don't know how to call that, like a little bit of pain here. So I go, maybe my body's a little bit too acidic and stuff like that. But I notice, but it's not as bad. Like I will just go, okay, maybe I'm eating too fast, or I'll have a little bit of lemon sometimes and make sure that I have enough stomach acid. But I don't like taking supplements and stuff like that. So I'm like, I notice and I go, okay, maybe slow down. It's giving me like the opportunity to have a good relationship with myself and see how is it that I'm ingesting, because it's not just about eating meat, but how I'm eating it. I'm in a calm place. Or am I too stressed out? Am I eating in front of a computer? No. Am I making space for that? Because I think it's also important. How do you relate to that? What else? No, I don't think so. Apart from like couple of times just feeling like that, but nothing major. And again, my fear was I won't be able to do number two. I was terrified by that. And then I knew I investigated a little bit, and then I was like, oh, is the fat what I have to do? Okay, fine. So it's all working. Love it because everything is working.
Yeah, so those fears were unjustified. A lot of people assume that because if you're not eating fiber, you won't be able to have a bowel movement. That's
Yeah.
not the case at all, as you probably found out.
Yeah, but it's interesting because that's an indoctrination. It's in a way I got that information from TV. I remember my mom telling me that. It was not something that I grew up listening to. It was something that I heard afterwards, especially when all the vegan people came into the scene and then whatever I was eating was too much. I don't care about the planet. I don't know if that has anything to do with the planet, but I do care about my appetite. So yeah, it was a lot of, and New York was a place where there was a lot of doctrine in many levels, not just food, everything.
Are you still actively practicing as an artist? Are you still doing that?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I have 3 very big commissions right now coming. So yeah.
Do you find that the diet has helped you either creatively or productively with what you do?
Yeah, I think with time, what has happened, okay, so here's the thing. I have learned to trust myself, and trusting myself in the way I eat is important because I know that I'm trusting what my body's telling me, like what somebody's telling me that I should do, whether it's a Taoist teacher or somebody, a doctor. I never go to doctors, or something that I hear. I don't do that. So it has really realigned me with my purpose of life. So everything seems to be resonating and flowing. And not only I do art, but I teach. I'm super intensively immersed in Bitcoin and learning and teaching. So I don't even know when I have the time. I have so much energy that sometimes I have to just put me to bed. I'm like, Monika, what? We go to sleep. I'm like, oh no, let's go. So I have to actually treat me like a little girl and say like, we have to rest for a little bit. So I have a lot of energy and I'm flowing. Just there's no pain. I don't feel lethargy. Is that the word? I don't feel any of that.
How do you mind sharing how old you are right now?
Yeah, I'm going to be 60 in April.
Okay, wonderful. And within the art community, there's probably a lot of people, if I'm not mistaken, they're probably more plant-based, maybe vegetarian, vegan. Is that something, or is that just
Yeah, they're very much like that. I remember in New York, even when I was just like normal carnivore, like I would go to dinners and people will say, "Oh, Monica, we didn't prepare you meat because you're a meditator." And I was like, "What the hell? What makes you?" No, because we think that you're so like, and I'm like, "Who says this? Oh, did you? Because you meditate, you don't eat meat. This is crazy." So many people were there, raw foodist, vegan, not even vegetarian, vegan, like boring. No, yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah, okay. And do any of them that you interact with now in Miami, if they know that you eat a lot of meat, do they think it's a problem, or how's that
But the
received?
interesting thing is, like when I said I left the matrix, I don't speak to many. I just basically I saw a couple like 2 months ago, but I don't think we're even going to be talking anymore because we are so different right now. Like my lifestyle is so different. What I'm interested in is so different. So I like even there was 2 people who came for the fair in December, and we couldn't even go for lunch because we eat so different. Oh, I don't want. Oh, they will say, let's go to this place. They have like great fish. I don't want to have fish. I want to go and have a steak. Oh, we don't eat that. And I was like, you know what? Then we just see each other at the beach because it's not going to happen. Before, I used to be more like, okay, let's yield. Now it's no, I want my meat. That's it. But yeah, it has changed. And if I go, for instance, in Colombia, I went there a lot last year because my mom, she passed away. So I spent a lot of time. I would just go and say, I'm coming this week, so prepare the steaks. I'm going to they have beautiful houses in the outskirts of Bogota in the mountains. I said, and we're spending the weekend and I'll just have an asado. We're going to have a grill. I'll eat all the meat. So count me in and I'm not going to share anything. That's another thing my friends is like that. I'm the worst person when eating because I won't share any food, especially meat. No, this is my steak. Like, so I'm not friendly then. But in Colombia, you
So
can
I'm
find
sorry,
good
but
meat. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. I was gonna say sorry to hear about your mother passing, but in Colombia, when you do go back there, there's no issue. I've heard a lot of people that Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Paraguay, Uruguay, they've got plenty of
Meat is like,
abundance of meat. Is that fair to say?
yes, it's delicious. Like there's nothing like right now, just closing my eyes. Oh, the next time it's just, you just eat meat the whole Sunday. It's like the dream.
Yeah, I could
Just,
definitely do that.
yeah, you just start in the
At some
morning
point.
and then wing, and then you go another, and then somebody else goes to the grill, and then the other one replaces. And my friends are very, like, I have a group of friends from high school, and my closest friends are very healthy. They're not complete carnivores, but they're super, like, they're 60 and they run marathons, they go up and down the mountain, they ride bikes, and so they're very fit, and they are meat eaters. I haven't spoken to them in a while. I mean, I've been very busy, but next time I go, I'm going to tell them I'm completely 100% carnivore, because I was still eating some veggies last year. So it will be interesting
Do you
to
do you miss the vegetables at all at this point?
know. Like, okay, so let's put it this way. Lettuces are delicious in a way because, and you're going to laugh, because I like the lettuce that are very crunchy because they're very meaty. It's like they'll have that kind of, like when you have a skirt steak and it has all these fibers, it has that kind of crunchiness that I would relate to that kind of vegetables, but not. And even though I grew up with fruits, Colombia has the most amazing amount of fruits. And even though I grew up like eating them, I always felt, and I always told my mother, Mom, this is too much sugar. And she was always like, well, you're such a weirdo. Just have them. I'm like, no, Mom, this sugar no good for me. I told my mom, I don't want sugar. And so even when I go to Colombia, people go, do you want a papaya? And I go, you know what? No, thank you. It's beautiful, but no, thank you. I don't crave those anymore because I see it's a lot of sugar for me. If I have to have one because there's nothing else and then there's no more food, of course I'll have it. Like, I'm not that extreme, of course. But if I have a choice between a steak and a papaya, a steak.
Yeah, you'd mentioned something about Bitcoin, and I know there's a lot of people that also trade in Bitcoin, and also many of them are carnivore. Do you run into those people? Are you within? Is there a Bitcoin community? I know Miami has a relatively large Bitcoin community, if I'm not mistaken. Do you ever talk to those
Yeah.
people about carnivore?
Yeah, I think that was like what got me also back into it, because some of them are 100% carnivore. Like they're really, and after reading Saifuddin Ammou's like the Fiat Standard, and he's an advocate of being carnivore, and just seeing how healthy people are. And I met many because I go to conferences and there's always like a carnivore dinner during the conferences. I always go to that because it's a celebration of just, we're celebrating we're all beasts and we like animals. And so yes, we do talk about it. I do have a group of people that I know, Bitcoiners, that are also, carnivore, and it's great. We just feel good. Not everybody that is a Bitcoiner is a carnivore, but there's a large.
Yeah, there's actually some surprisingly some vegan Bitcoiners, which is amazing.
Yes, I know a couple. I know a couple, and I'm okay. You can do whatever you want, but not me. No. Yeah, but it's very common. So I feel home, and with the Bitcoins, I feel like, oh, I don't have to deal with, yeah, of course, red meat or carnivore, the same clang. We're hunters.
Do you find contrasting? Well, I mean, you've lived a lot of places. So Europe, obviously New York, Miami, coming from Colombia. Where do you find in your experience? Where would it be more easier to? Where would it be the easiest place to do carnivore, in your opinion? Would it be back home in Colombia, or where do you think would be the easiest
In
place
Argentina.
to do it? Argentina. There you go.
I remember. So this is gonna be funny for you. Okay, so when I was little, I just remember one of the foods that I liked the most was blood sausage.
Mm-hmm.
And some people in French, it's called boudin. And I remember, and Spain has a lot, but there are different variations. Some people put rice, some people, it's made different, but it's like intestine that is stuffed with something, and then it has blood. And I think that I'm so connected to the blood of the cow, that it's something incredible, that I will kill for a piece of morcilla, of blood sausage. So there were times, for instance, when I was in Spain, and I would just go with my ex-husband and go, why don't we go to all the cities and try the different kind of boudin? So they were called, his nephews were calling me Aunt Morcilla. and they would ship me morcillas because the mother was like, do you eat anything else? And I was like, since you guys don't have like real meat, because they don't really eat a lot of red meat, they have lamb, they have pork, but they don't have like cow, like they don't have beef, or if they do, it's very rare. So I will have them. My second best was the boudin. And in Italy as well, I spent a lot of time in Italy. So what was it, 2 years ago? I went for 6 weeks to a special thing with artists, like a castle. And my diet, do you have any diet? I said, yes, meat and meat. But we don't have meat. Get me the meat or get me eggs, or bacon. I'm not going to have pasta. And they had wonderful chefs there. And they were like, don't you want to try? I was like, no, I'm good. So I managed to, like, you have to voice your needs. Like, for instance, England, forget about it, being a carnivore in England or in Germany. What? Is you have to go to places that they understand that culture. So yeah, Argentina, Colombia, I'm going to be good. And here, Miami, at least, as long as I have somebody shipping me the stuff, yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I was actually in Miami at an Argentinian restaurant, I think in Coral Gables, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken, or near there. And they had blood sausage on the menu. It was quite good. I really enjoyed it. I'd never tried it in that specific way before. It was quite tasty.
When Argentina was very bad in early 2000s, there was a lot of people that came here. And I used to come a lot to Miami with my ex-husband. And we used to go to this place. I forgot the name of it because I don't go anymore. The Knives. I think it was called The Knives. Something Knives. And it was all you can eat meat. I remember like getting off the airport and just salivating from the rental. Let's get there. And we used to go to the one on Coral Gables, no, on Coconut Grove. I was like, come on. And get there 11 o'clock in the morning and just all you can eat meat. And stuff ourselves with meat, take like doggy bags with meat. And then the next day, same thing again. So yeah, because Argentinian, oh my God, they really cook. They know how to cook that. So, yeah.
That's on my one day to do list. I've got to get down to that part of the world. I think this November I might be going out to South America for something, but we'll see.
And Brazil also, you can have very good meat in Brazil.
Yeah, I understand. Particularly southern Brazil, Argentina have all that big asado culture there, which gaucho type stuff. So that would be a nice place to visit at some point. So you said that your digestion has been better as carnivore. You feel pretty good. Your skin seems to be, you said you feel really good about your skin. What are the overall, any other health benefits that you've noticed?
I stopped losing my hair. Like I swear to God, like only fish was like falling. So like my nails are better, just little stuff like nails, hair, even my teeth. Like I don't really go to the dentist. Like I do everything like alternative. Like I don't believe in doctors, to be honest. Like nothing wrong with them, but I just think that they're working for the wrong people. So I prefer to go like really natural. So I've noticed that little stuff, my teeth, even my gums, everything is just healthy. It's just healthy. Everything.
Yeah, I honestly, as a physician, I think many physicians would not need to be here if everybody ate a appropriate diet. We could probably get rid of probably 2/3, if not more, maybe 3/4 of all the physicians, because they would become superfluous. You wouldn't need them. It is an interesting sort of thing that when you get healthy, you're like, why do I have to go to the doctor? In fact, I think a lot of people, the best thing they can do for their health is avoid the healthcare system in many ways. There's obviously exceptions to that, but I think in many ways we tend to just make people worse in some regard.
I think, can I add something to that? I think it's interesting because, for instance, Bitcoin is, if you understand the core of it, is all about freedom and being accountable and having sovereignty and being your own bank. But it's also a state of, for me, Bitcoin, more than money, it is money or has some store value, is also a state of being, is a consciousness that allows me to really be taking care of myself holistically. It's not just about like keeping my seed with the money somewhere, but also making sure that I know how my body works and how healthy it can be. So being a carnivore and being a Bitcoiner is like, of course, it's equivalent to it, because you start to understand that you have to take care of yourself and you cannot depend on the centralized system. And I'm sorry, but the health system has been centralized in a way that people just don't move without calling the doctor and having a lot of meds. I've never been how do you say, prescribe anything. Nothing. I don't. I'm like, and I'm crazy. If I have to go to for instance, the dentist or something like that, I'll go do it. I'm not afraid of pain. They're like, you're a beast. And I'm like, I don't want to be put down, and I can't. So I think it's a matter of taking responsibility, and then everything starts really working. Because the whole thing is that it works for you. It's not against you. So you don't need to have that codependency with the health system.
Yeah, fair enough. Like I said, I think, and in fact, it's one of these interesting things that the healthcare sector, if we talk about this greenhouse gas thing, which a lot of people are obsessed about, the healthcare sector puts out far more greenhouse gases than cows do in the US. And so if you are healthy and eating meat and you never need the healthcare system, you're probably on net doing better for the environment just by staying healthy. And I think that's an important aspect that many people overlook. You mentioned you like fat. Do you ever like calculate, or you just eat what tastes good to you? And does it tend to be more fat?
Oh, if I calculate like the grams of fat that I eat or something like that? No, I just do it. Right. I have the beef tallow, so I'll just cook with that or finish it with that. And this is interesting. Like I never like to marinate meat ever before, like nothing. So I'm a person that just like cooks the meat with the fat first, like really, and I leave the fat. So I want that flavor to be there, and that's going to be also part of like how I'm going to glaze the meat, and then I just move it like that, and I only salt my meat afterwards. Once it's done, I bring different kinds of salts. I love different kinds of salts, smoked salt or the red one salt, whatever, the mild one salt. I have a lot of different kinds of salts, so I like to finish it a little bit, and then I wait, and then I slices it in, and it's this beautiful, I don't know, experiment. Yeah, but the fat is part of seeing how the fat is also, I don't know, like embracing the meat to be able to be cooked. It's almost like as much as the fat is also embracing and covering the muscle, for me, it's also part of the flavor. It's so important. I don't eat anything that doesn't
have definitely flavor. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is one thing, I will never eat anything that my eyes cannot feel that it's good looking. I'm like, I could be like, I don't know how to say the words, like, ugh. So it has to look good, it has to smell good, and if it doesn't taste at least good, I stay hungry, I'm not gonna eat. So it has to have that part of the flavor. It's super important.
Yeah, it makes sense. Why would you eat something? And it's interesting because vegetables just don't taste good to me, particularly plain vegetables without massive amounts of fat or some sort of seasoning on there. And it's like, why would we require something that doesn't actually taste good to us? It doesn't seem to make just, first principles sense. But so one of the things about like many of these asado, South American style barbecues is often a lot of spices can be used in there, like garlics and peppers and chilies and things like that. Do you do much of that? Or are you fairly minimal with your spices and stuff?
I don't like spices. I don't like pepper. The only pepper that I would have sometimes is red pepper, like cayenne pepper. But for health reasons, like I will just, like if I feel that there's some wind and I might feel like, oh my God, I would just have a little bit of hot water with that. And I immediately will, like onion. Like for instance, I use vegetables and stuff more like a medicine kind of thing. If I see something going to happen with my body, I will use it as, I say the word expectorant. I will use them as something, or herbs, like to just help me move stuff in the body, but not to flavor them. So I don't put that. I don't like marinated food. I think it's very, like meat, when it's marinated, it's too acidic. I have a joke says like when you put salt, or no, when you put sauces and marination, is because the meat is already going bad. That's why you need to like put the custom in. I want to be as fresh as it can be, or it has to be. If it's dry aged, it's okay. But if it's just going bad and you have to put a sauce, it's no, thank you. I don't like that. So in Colombia, there's some people who like to put a lot of stuff. I usually say no. I will say, make me a steak like this. Do not put the salt. And I will say, please don't put any salt. Don't put anything. And whatever, bring it on the side, or don't bring anything. Just give me the meat, and I'll put the rest.
Fair enough. Are you a person that's on like social media and stuff like that? Do you share like social media pages or anything like that?
Yeah, I am. I like to share stuff. I'm a content creator of, I shit post a lot. Yeah, especially about stuff that I'm passionate about.
Yeah, I've done that myself, believe it or not. Do you want to share that? Do you want to
Yeah,
just tell people
yeah,
where to find you on social media?
absolutely. I'm using more and more Twitter and Nostr than the other ones I call Shistagram, because they're Meta is somewhere like Facebook. I call the geriatric place because people over there, they don't understand what's going on in the world. So sometimes I go, let's go and talk to these people. Something's happening. Instagram, people are asleep. I don't do TikTok because that's like they took your brain somewhere else. But I Twitter and Nostr. Yeah.
What is your
So in
handle or
Twitter
your
is
address for
Bravo Monica with a K.
Bravo Monica with a K? All one word together?
Yeah, Bravo
Monica?
Monica. Yeah, like, and I have my red eyes there. And in
And
Nasser, I think is Monica. Yeah, I'm a
so your
maximalist.
red eyes are until Bitcoin gets to 100K, right? Is that the red eyes thing?
No, the red eyes is I'm focused on Bitcoin, and I love Bitcoin, and there's nothing in my life without Bitcoin. It's a state of
I
consciousness.
see.
It's all of it.
Interesting. Monica, I thank you very much. I do have to go and do some consultations now, so it's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the time.
I hope that it was able to help you somehow, and thank you for inviting me.
Sure thing.